Commander Jack Fletcher stared out the viewport of Earth's Defense Command Center, a grandiose name for what was essentially a glorified traffic control booth. His reflection stared back at him. The bags under his eyes had bags of their own, his once crisp uniform now sported coffee stains that were older than some of his junior officers. Another thrilling day protecting humanity from the grave threat of absolutely nothing, Jack muttered, taking a swig from his mug emblazoned with Earth's finest in faded letters. The irony wasn't lost on him. 20 years ago, Earth had joined the Galactic Confederation, a collective of 742 species united in peaceful cooperation across 17,000 star systems. Humanity had been so proud. Finally, proof we weren't alone in the universe. First contact. A new era of prosperity and advancement. What nobody mentioned was that Earth would rank approximately 742nd in terms of importance. Commander, the weekly defense readiness report is due in 30 minutes, chirped Lieutenant Rodriguez, one of the 5 people who constituted Earth's mighty defense force. Fascinating. Tell me, Rodriguez, do you think anyone actually reads these reports? Jack swiveled in his chair, which squeaked in protest. Even the furniture on this station was past its prime. Sir, Admiral Z.K. Tar's office sends an automated acknowledgement every time. An automated acknowledgement. Be still my beating heart. The Galactic Confederation had evolved beyond warfare about 8,000 years ago. The member species had collectively decided that violence was primitive, barbaric, and generally not the sort of thing advanced civilizations should engage in. Which was all well and good, except it meant that the Confederation had effectively forgotten how to fight. Earth's military expertise was viewed as quaint at best, disturbing at worst. When humanity joined the Confederation, they'd been politely but firmly asked to dismantle their militaries. As a compromise, each member planet was allowed a small ceremonial defense force. Jack had once commanded a nuclear submarine with enough firepower to level a continent. Now he commanded a space station with all the tactical capabilities of a Ferris wheel. His communicator chimed. The holographic display showed the smiling face of Diplomat X-Tar, a jelly-like creature from Rigel VE, who served as Earth's liaison to the Confederation Council. Commander Fletcher. A pleasure as always. Just checking if Earth's defensive posture report will be submitted on schedule? Jack forced a smile. Wouldn't miss it for the world. X-Tar, same as last week, and the 300 weeks before that. Excellent, excellent. The Council appreciates your thoroughness. Oh, and one more thing. We're detecting some unusual activity at the edge of Confederate space. Probably nothing to worry about, but we've dispatched observation vessels to investigate. Unusual activity? What kind of unusual activity? Jack sat up straighter, a long dormant spark of interest igniting. Oh, just some unregistered ships. Probably traders who forgot to file their flight plans. The Council has drafted a strongly worded letter expressing disappointment. Jack suppressed a sigh. A strongly worded letter. That'll show him. Indeed. The power of diplomatic language should never be underestimated. Now, I must attend a council meeting on the standardization of restroom signage across species. Fascinating topic. The hologram disappeared, leaving Jack staring at empty air. He turned back to his console, which displayed the status of Earth's defense fleet, 3 outdated patrol ships that were more museum pieces than warships. Rodriguez, do me a favor. Pull up those anomalous readings X-Tar mentioned. Sir, we don't have authorization to. Just do it. Call it professional curiosity. Rodriguez tapped at her console. Accessing Confederation sensor network, sir. These readings are strange. These ships don't match any known Confederation designs. Jack peered over her shoulder. No, they don't. And that formation, that's not a trading fleet. That's a military formation. But sir, nobody's fought a war in thousands of years. Nobody in the Confederation, Lieutenant. But what about outside it? For the first time in years, Commander Jack Fletcher felt a familiar sensation, the tingle of adrenaline that comes with approaching danger. After 2 decades of filing pointless reports and maintaining obsolete ships, he finally had something real to worry about. Too bad nobody would listen to him. 3 days later, Jack found himself in the least comfortable chair ever designed, watching as the Confederation welcomed its newest visitors. The grand reception hall on Alpha Centauri Prime was packed with representatives from hundreds of species, all dressed in their ceremonial best. Jack tugged at his collar. The formal uniform of Earth's Defense Force had clearly been designed by someone with a grudge against the human neck. "Stop fidgeting," hissed Admiral Winston, Earth's highest-ranking officer. "You're representing humanity." "I'm representing human discomfort," Jack whispered back. "Why am I even here? I'm just a station commander." "Because someone thought having our military expert present would make a good impression on the new species." "Military expert? I haven't fired a weapon in 20 years. That still makes you more experienced than anyone else in this room." The grand doors swung open, and a hush fell over the assembly. Jack's first thought upon seeing the Kra'zik was, those are some seriously oversized cockroaches. Standing nearly 7 feet tall, the insectoid aliens moved with mechanical precision. Their exoskeletons gleamed under the hall's lights, and their compound eyes seemed to take in everything at once. There were 5 of them, each slightly different in coloration, but otherwise identical. High Chancellor Oop, a gas-based life form who communicated through controlled emissions, Jack had given up trying not to laugh years ago, floated forward. "Most esteemed visitors, the Galactic Confederation welcomes you with open appendages. We are honored by your presence and look forward to cultural exchange and mutual prosperity." The lead Kra'zik stepped forward. Its mandibles clicked rapidly before a translator device converted the sounds to standard galactic. "We observe your gathering. We seek resources and territory. You have much. We desire it." Jack felt his eyebrows shoot up. Well, that was refreshingly direct, if concerning. High Chancellor Oop's gas cloud turned a concerned shade of purple. Perhaps a misunderstanding due to translation. "In the Confederation, we believe in shared prosperity and peaceful coexistence. No one takes resources from others." "Inefficient," clicked the Kra'zik. "Strong take, weak give. Universal constant." An uncomfortable murmur spread through the hall. Most Confederation species had evolved beyond such primitive concepts. Even humans had mostly outgrown them. Mostly. Jack leaned toward Admiral Winston. "Sir, something's not right here. These aren't diplomats, they're scouts." "Nonsense, Fletcher. The Confederation screening protocols would have detected any hostile intent." "With all due respect, sir, those protocols were designed by species that haven't experienced conflict in millennia. They wouldn't recognize hostile intent if it bit them on the..." "Commander," Winston warned. The Kra'zik's compound eyes swiveled, focusing on the human delegation. It skittered over, causing several dignitaries to step back hastily. Different uniform, different posture. Military?" Jack straightened. "Commander Jack Fletcher, Earth Defense Force." "Earth. Not in records. New addition?" "Relatively speaking. We joined about 20 years ago." The Kra'zik's antennae twitched. Records show Confederation abandoned warfare 8,421 cycles ago. "Yet you maintain military?" "Ceremonial only," Admiral Winston interjected hastily. "Earth has embraced the Confederation's peaceful ways." The Kra'zik's mandibles clicked rapidly in what Jack somehow knew was laughter. "Ceremonial." "Yes, weak, as expected." It turned away, rejoining its companions. The lead Kra'zik addressed High Chancellor Oop once more. "We have seen enough. We will depart. Prepare tribute for our return." "Tribute?" Oop's gas cloud turned an alarmed yellow. "Perhaps another translation error. The Confederation doesn't pay tribute. We engage in equitable trade." "No error," clicked the Kra'zik. "Prepare resources. Medical samples. Technology. Rare elements. Or we take by force." With that, The 5 Kra'zik marched out of the hall in perfect synchronization, leaving behind a stunned silence, and one small, metallic object that clattered to the floor. Jack was the first to approach it. Years of disuse notwithstanding, his military training kicked in. "Nobody touch this," he ordered, kneeling to examine the device. It was pulsing with a faint blue light. "What is it?" asked Admiral Winston. "If I had to guess, a scanner. They just mapped this entire facility and everyone in it." The Confederation representatives began talking all at once, a cacophony of concerned bleats, whistles, and hums in a dozen different languages. High Chancellor Oop drifted over. "Commander Fletcher, surely you're mistaken. This is clearly a ceremonial gift that they, dropped accidentally." Jack looked up at the gas cloud with as much patience as he could muster. "Chancellor, with all due respect, those weren't diplomats. They were military officers conducting reconnaissance, and they just declared their intention to come back and take whatever they want." Preposterous. The Confederation hasn't faced an external threat in thousands of years. "Well," Jack said, standing up, "looks like your vacation is over." 1 week later, Jack was back at his post on Earth's Defense Command Center, but things had changed. For one, he was actually paying attention to the sensor readings instead of using the console to play solitaire. "Sir, another communication from Confederation Central," Rodriguez said, looking up from her station. "They want to know why we've elevated our alert status. Tell them it's a drill, or a ceremonial thing, whatever keeps them off our backs." Jack hadn't slept properly since the meeting with the Kra'zik. Something was coming. He could feel it. "They're not going to like that, sir. Add it to the list of things they don't like about humans." The door slid open, and Dr. Eleanor Reed entered, her lab coat wrinkled as if she'd slept in it. Given that she was the station's chief science officer, she probably had. "Jack, you need to see this." She thrust a datapad into his hands. "I've been analyzing that device the Kra'zik dropped. It's not just a scanner. It's transmitting." Jack scrolled through the data. "Transmitting what? To whom?" "I don't know what, exactly. But I traced the signal. It's aimed at a point just beyond Pluto's orbit." Jack's blood ran cold. "They're already here." Eleanor nodded grimly. "And based on the signal strength, it's not just a scout ship." "Have you reported this to Confederation security?" 3 times. They've classified it as non-urgent intelligence requiring further study." "Well, of course they have." Jack ran a hand through his hair. "Rodriguez, full sensor sweep of the solar system. Use the old military protocols, not the Confederation standard." "Sir, those protocols were decommissioned." "Just do it." The lieutenant's fingers flew across her console. "Scan complete. Nothing on standard frequencies, but wait. There's something using active camouflage near Jupiter's moon Europa." Jack was about to issue another order when an emergency signal cut through all channels. The holographic display activated automatically, showing a news feed from New Auckland, New Zealand. "Repeat, this is not a drill. An unidentified object has struck St. Mary's Orphanage in downtown New Auckland. Initial reports suggest multiple casualties. Authorities are responding." The blood drained from Jack's face. "St. Mary's? Are you sure?" "Yes, sir. Do you know it?" "Know it?" Jack had grown up there after his parents died in the resource wars of 2097. Sister Margaret had raised him, taught him right from wrong, encouraged him to join the Navy when he showed an aptitude for leadership. "Sir?" Rodriguez looked concerned. "Are you all right?" Jack snapped back to the present. "Get me a direct line to Sister Margaret." "The communications grid in that area is down, sir." "Then get me visual. Military satellites, traffic cameras, anything." Minutes later, the holographic display showed the smoking ruins of what had once been a 3-story Victorian building. Emergency vehicles surrounded the site. Rescue workers pulled bodies from the rubble, small bodies. Jack's hands clenched into fists. This wasn't an accident. The Kra'zik are sending a message. But why an orphanage? Eleanor asked, her voice shaking. There's no strategic value. Because they studied us. They know humans protect their young above all else. This is psychological warfare. Jack turned to Rodriguez. Get me Admiral Winston. While waiting for the connection, Jack accessed the station's secure storage. Behind a panel marked emergency use only sat an actual physical key. He hadn't used it since taking command of the station. He hoped he wouldn't have to use it now, but hope was in short supply. Admiral Winston's hologram appeared, his face grim. Fletcher, I assume you've heard. Yes, sir. This is just the beginning. We need to activate the mothballed fleet. The Confederation Council has already ruled this an unfortunate accident. A meteorite, they're saying. Jack slammed his fist on the console. A meteorite that somehow bypassed all our detection systems and precisely hit a building full of children? Sir, with respect, that's bull. I know, Commander. Winston's voice was quiet but firm. But the Council has spent millennia avoiding conflict. They're not going to start a war over one building, even he faltered, even one full of children. Then we will. Fletcher. Sir, I'm invoking Emergency Protocol 7. Winston's hologram flickered as he stiffened. That protocol was sealed by treaty when we joined the Confederation. It would mean defending ourselves without Confederation approval. It would mean war. A long silence stretched between them. Finally, Winston nodded. Do what you have to do, Commander. I'll try to buy you time with the Council. After the Admiral's hologram disappeared, Jack turned to his small crew. Lieutenant Rodriguez, contact Lieutenant Maya Ortiz at the lunar base. Tell her to prep the sealed bunkers. Dr. Reed, I need you to find Engineer Dexter Williams. Last I heard, he was running a repair shop in orbit around Mars. Wrench? The guy who got court-martialed for experimenting with prohibited weapons tech? That's the one. Tell him I'm putting together a group of people who don't mind breaking a few rules. Birth. Jack inserted the physical key into a rarely used slot on his console and turned it. Red lights began flashing throughout the station as automated systems whirred to life for the first time in decades. Sir, Rodriguez said, her voice a mix of awe and fear, what exactly are we doing? Jack's eyes were cold as space itself. We're teaching the galaxy why you don't bomb an Earth orphanage. The Confederation Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from hundreds of species were talking over each other, some literally floating with agitation. In the center of it all stood Jack Fletcher, now wearing a uniform that hadn't seen the light of day in 20 years, the combat dress of Earth's pre-Confederation Space Navy. High Chancellor Oop's gas cloud was cycling through colors so rapidly it resembled a psychedelic light show. Commander Fletcher, you cannot be serious. You're proposing to unilaterally engage in warfare? Not proposing, Chancellor. Informing. Earth is activating its defense protocols with or without Confederation approval. Ambassador T. Leal, a crystalline being from Rigel IV, chimed in with a sound like breaking glass. But the treaty clearly states. The treaty also guarantees the right to self-defense, Jack cut in. An Earth facility was attacked. Children were killed. A tragic accident, insisted Oop. Was it also an accident that we've detected Kra'zik ships in 12 different Confederation systems? Or that they've been scanning defense installations across the quadrant? A murmur ran through the chamber. Clearly this was news to most representatives. How do you know this? Demanded T. Leal. Because unlike the Confederation, humans never completely forgot how to recognize a threat. While you've been drafting strongly worded letters, we've been tracking their movements. Jack activated a holographic display, showing the positions of Kra'zik vessels throughout Confederation space. They're preparing for invasion, and your precious Confederation has exactly 0 warships to defend itself. Violence is not the answer. Oop's cloud pulsed with indignation. The Confederation will dispatch negotiators. The time for negotiation ended when they bombed St. Mary's, Jack said, his voice like steel. Humanity is introducing something the Confederation has forgotten: total war. Total war? Ambassador ZKR of Proxima Centauri asked, blinking all six of his eyes in confusion. The complete mobilization of a society's resources toward the defeat of an enemy. Economic, industrial, scientific, social, everything focused on one goal: victory. The chamber fell silent, the concept so alien to most species that they struggled to comprehend it. "You cannot do this," Hoop finally said. "We will not allow Earth to drag the Confederation into barbarism." Jack smiled without humor. "You misunderstand, Chancellor. I'm not asking for permission. I'm offering protection. Because right now, Earth's barbaric military is the only thing standing between the Confederation and the Kra'zik." With that, he turned and walked out, leaving the Council in stunned silence. Meanwhile, in a classified location near Luna, Maya Ortiz oversaw the reactivation of ships that hadn't flown in 2 decades. As one of the few remaining officers with actual combat experience, she'd been tasked with preparing Earth's mothballed fleet. "These rust buckets better fly," she muttered, running diagnostics on a cruiser's weapons systems. "They'll fly," came a gravelly voice behind her. "Might not be pretty, but they'll fly." Maya turned to see a stocky man with arms covered in grease up to the elbows. A tool belt hung low on his hips, and a scar ran from his left eye to his jaw. "Dexter Williams, I presume? The infamous wrench?" "In the flesh. Fletcher called me in for upgrades. Said something about making these ships non-regulation." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Non-regulation how?" Wrench grinned, revealing a gold tooth. "Let's just say the Confederation has rules about weapons capability. Rules I never much cared for." He led her to a cargo bay where crates stamped with prohibited technology were being unpacked by a team of engineers. Kinetic impact enhancers, neutron destabilizers, shield harmonics that can cut through any known defense system. Wrench patted a particularly menacing-looking device. "This beauty can disrupt the molecular bonds in an enemy ship's hull. Turns metal into Swiss cheese." "These were all banned by the Confederation Treaty," Maya said, eyes wide. "Yep, been keeping them in storage. For a rainy day." He looked up at the ships being prepped for launch. "Guess it's pouring." On the command deck of the newly recommissioned Retribution, Jack met with his hastily assembled command staff. The ship had been a museum piece until 3 days ago. Now it was humanity's best hope. "The Kra'zik fleet has been spotted near Tau Ceti," Jack informed them. "Intelligence suggests they're massing for a major assault on Confederation core worlds." "How many ships?" asked Maya, now serving as tactical officer. "At least 50. Maybe more." "And we have 7, Wrench pointed out. 7 ships crewed by people who remember what it means to fight," Jack countered, "against an enemy that's never faced human ingenuity and desperation. I like those odds." "Commander," interrupted Rodriguez, who had insisted on joining the mission, "incoming transmission from Confederation Central." Jack sighed. "Put it through." High Chancellor Oop's cloud appeared on screen, tinged with what humans had learned to recognize as anxiety. "Commander Fletcher, the Council has reconsidered its position." "How generous of them." "Our long-range sensors have detected a massive Kra'zik fleet approaching the Tau Ceti system. They're not responding to hails." "Shocking." "The Council has authorized you to intercept the Kra'zik vessels, but only to establish communication and escort them out of Confederation space." Jack smiled thinly. "Of course, Chancellor. We'll give them a proper escort." After the transmission ended, Maya looked at Jack skeptically. "We're not really just going to escort them out, are we?" "Lieutenant Ortiz, I'm shocked." "Of course we'll escort them." His smile turned predatory. "Escort them straight to hell." The Retribution dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Tau Ceti system, followed by 6 other Earth vessels. Through the viewport, Jack could see the jewel-like planets of one of the Confederation's oldest member worlds. An and approaching them like a swarm of metallic locusts was the Kra'zik fleet. 53 ships, reported Maya from Tactical. Most appear to be troop carriers, but I'm counting 15 heavy cruisers. Broadcast on all frequencies, Jack ordered. Let's see if they'll talk. Rodriguez opened a channel. This is the Earth Defense Force vessel Retribution to Kra'zik fleet. You are in violation of Confederation space. State your intentions or be fired upon. The response came immediately, a barrage of energy weapons fire that lit up the void. Well, Jack said dryly as the ship rocked from near misses, I'd say their intentions are pretty clear. Evasive maneuvers. All ships, execute Battle Plan Theta. The small Earth fleet broke formation, scattering in seemingly random directions. To the Kra'zik, it must have looked like panic. It wasn't. They're pursuing, Maya reported. Taking the bait. Jack nodded. In the 3 days since the Orphanage bombing, he and his team had studied everything they could about the Kra'zik. One crucial discovery: they operated with a hive mind mentality, which made them incredibly coordinated but also predictable. All ships initiate Phase 2, Jack ordered. The Earth vessels abruptly cut their engines, spun 180 degrees, and accelerated directly toward their pursuers. It was a maneuver no sensible space navy would attempt, heading straight into enemy fire. But humans had long ago learned that the unexpected was sometimes their greatest weapon. Weapons hot, Maya called. Firing solutions locked. Fire. The space between the fleets lit up as the Earth ships unleashed their non-regulation weaponry. Neutron destabilizers tore through Kra'zik shields as if they were tissue paper. Kinetic enhancers sent projectiles smashing into enemy hulls with devastating force. On the main viewer, Jack watched as 3 Kra'zik cruisers exploded in silent bursts of light and debris. They're regrouping, Maya reported, forming a defensive perimeter. Jack nodded. As expected, they're adapting to our tactics. Rodriguez signaled the Confederation observers. A holographic display activated, showing representatives from various Confederation species watching the battle from a safe distance. Commander Fletcher, gasped Ambassador T. Leal, what we're witnessing is... Or, Jack finished for her. This is what it looks like when someone fights back instead of writing a strongly worded letter. The devastation, it's barbaric. It's necessary. And now for Phase 3. Jack turned to Maya. Target their command ship. All weapons. The Retribution surged forward, its engines pushing to maximum capacity. The other Earth vessels formed up behind it in a spearhead formation, concentrating their fire on a single point in the Kra'zik line. They're trying to block us, Maya warned as enemy ships moved to intercept. Stay on course, Jack ordered. Wrench, how are those shields holding? About as well as can be expected when you're flying into the teeth of an alien death fleet, came the engineer's strained voice. Which is to say, barely. The Retribution shuddered as enemy fire impacted its shields. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Shields at 30%, reported an ensign. Keep going, Jack insisted. We need to get closer. Closer? They'll tear us apart. That's why they won't expect it. The Earth fleet plunged deeper into the Kra'zik formation, taking heavy damage but dealing it out just as fiercely. 2 Earth ships were lost, their crews ejecting in survival pods. We're in range, Maya announced as the massive Kra'zik command ship filled the viewport. Deploy the package, Jack ordered. From the underside of the Retribution, a small, unremarkable probe detached and sped toward the Kra'zik vessel. It latched onto the alien hull, unnoticed amid the chaos of battle. Package delivered, Maya confirmed, transmitting activation code. Jack opened a channel to the Kra'zik command ship. Attention, Kra'zik vessel. This is Commander Jack Fletcher of Earth. You bombed an orphanage on my planet. You killed children under my protection. This is humanity's response. He nodded to Maya, who pressed a single button. Aboard the Kra'zik ship, The small device activated, sending a precisely calibrated frequency through the vessel's communication systems, a frequency that disrupted the Kra'zik hive mind connection. In an instant, the perfectly coordinated alien force descended into confusion. "Their formation is breaking down," Maya reported, unable to keep the awe from her voice. "Ships are moving erratically. Some are firing on each other." "All ships, target engines and weapons systems," Jack ordered. "Disable, don't destroy." The battle's tide turned dramatically. Without their hive mind coordination, the Kra'zik vessels became easy targets. One by one, they went dark or drifted helplessly in space. On the holographic display, the Confederation representatives watched in stunned silence. "This," Jack told them, "is why you don't bomb an Earth orphanage." 1 month after what would come to be known as the Battle of Tau Ceti, Jack stood before the Confederation Council once more. This time, however, the chamber was silent as he entered. No floating in agitation, no outraged chirping or humming. Just respect. And a healthy dose of fear. "Commander Fletcher," High Chancellor Oop began, his gas cloud a subdued blue. "The Council has reviewed the events at Tau Ceti and the subsequent campaign against Kra'zik forces throughout Confederation space." Jack stood at parade rest, his uniform immaculate this time. And we find ourselves in the unprecedented position of thanking a military operation. Your actions, while undeniably violent, prevented what intelligence now confirms would have been a full-scale invasion of Confederation territory. Just doing our job, Chancellor." Ambassador T. Leal floated forward. "The Council has also reviewed the concept of total war that you introduced. We find it disturbing but effective. Humanity has learned the hard way that sometimes peace must be defended," Jack replied. "We've fought our own wars, made our own mistakes. We know the cost better than anyone." "Yes, well," Oop's cloud shifted uncomfortably. "In light of recent events, the Council has drafted a new protocol. The Human Defense Initiative." A holographic document appeared before Jack. As he skimmed it, his eyebrows rose. "You're asking Earth to serve as the Confederation's military arm?" "Not asking, Commander. Recognizing what already is. Your species remembers what the rest of us have forgotten. You understand conflict in ways we cannot. The Confederation needs that knowledge." Jack thought of St. Mary's Orphanage, of the children who would never grow up, of Sister Margaret, who had survived but would walk with a limp for the rest of her life. The Kra'zik? Contained, thanks to your disruption of their hive mind. Those captured are being studied. Those that fled have been warned not to return. Jack nodded slowly. "I'll need resources. Ships, training facilities, and the Confederation's ban on certain technologies will have to be selectively enforced." Oop's cloud cycled through several colors before settling on a resigned purple. The Council anticipated these requests. They have been approved. After the meeting, Jack walked through the Confederation Central's Grand Promenade. At his side was newly promoted Admiral Maya Ortiz. "So," she said, "Earth just became the galaxy's police force." "More like its reluctant guardian," Jack replied. "They still don't really understand war. They just know they need someone who does. And that's us. The barbarians who never quite forgot how to fight." Jack stopped by a viewport that looked out over the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, still a backwater world by Confederation standards, but no longer insignificant. You know what the craziest part is? If the Kra'zik had bombed anything else, a government building, a military installation, I'm not sure we would have responded the same way. "But they hit an orphanage," Maya said quietly. "They hit an orphanage," Jack agreed. "They studied us enough to know what would hurt us most, but not enough to understand what it would provoke." A message chimed on Jack's communicator. Updates on the reconstruction of St. Mary's, personally overseen by engineer Wrench Williams, who had insisted on taking the project despite offers of far more prestigious positions. "The Confederation's going to lean on us heavily going forward," Maya noted. They'll want us to solve all their problems. And we'll teach them, little by little, how to solve their own. Jack turned from the viewport. But first, I think the galaxy needs to understand one very important lesson. What's that, sir? Jack smiled, but there was steel behind it. Never, ever bomb an Earth orphanage. As if to emphasize his point, a formation of Earth ships flew past the window, their hulls gleaming with new Confederation insignia alongside the familiar Earth emblems. A powerful reminder of humanity's new role in the galaxy. And a promise that some lines should never be crossed.